Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter Walker. I love talking about movies, music, comics, and games. And tonight, I just got out of the new Hercule Poirot. I have no idea how to pronounce that. The new Kenneth Branagh murder mystery film, A Haunting in Venice. So this is the third installment in the Kenneth Branagh directed Hercule Poirot mystery films, following a murder on the Orient Express and a death on the Nile. What sets this one apart from the other ones is that it takes place in a haunted house in Venice, and it's set on Halloween night as a bunch of strangers, including Hercule Poirot, gather for a seance with a medium who can speak to the dead, played by Michelle Yeoh. So that, for starters, really intrigued me. And I was really excited about the horror aspect of this movie going into it because, first, I love horror, and I do have a really big soft spot for murder mysteries. I very much enjoyed the first movie, The Murder on the Orient Express. I think that the acting in that film is phenomenal. The score is severely underrated, and I really enjoyed Hercule Poirot in that movie and the way it wraps up. I wasn't really that fond of A Death on the Nile. It might have something to do with sitting in a theater with my younger sister and my mom and my dad and watching Gal Gadot getting dry humped and talking about her boyfriend's snake in his trousers. So that really wasn't the best experience for me because that was really freaking weird. So needless to say, I was nervously optimistic for this movie. And I'll just get right into the positives of this movie. Is I think that it is filmed and directed amazingly well by Kenneth Branagh. It's filmed on location, which you can tell by the gorgeous set pieces here and the gorgeous looking shots that Branagh manages to put on film. Everything is so colorful, so well done. It has such a gothic overtone that I really enjoyed, but it doesn't go overboard with it, and it has a bunch of those Dutch angles that Kenneth just adores. And you know, if you've watched the first Thor movie, how much he loves those freaking Dutch angles. But I think it really worked here to sell the horror and the mystery of this house. And it really just sells how weird and how zany that this place is. I don't know if zany is the right word. It just sells how off kilter this place is. That's a better word. It really just kind of shows how weird this whole thing is, how unsettled Perot is, how unsettled the characters are. There's a lot of great like shots from the top down where characters are looking up or characters are looking down. There's great like point of view, not point of view, great shots where it's like a GoPro like on Perot's head and he's just like walking down corridors. I thought it did a great job just using that visual medium to relay details about the characters to us as an audience. I also enjoyed the central mystery. I did figure out a little piece of it early on, but just like any good mystery film, even if you figure out a little piece, there's always something bigger behind the curtain. So if you think you figured something out, there's always more and more and more to be revealed, which I really enjoyed. The pacing in this movie also is pretty good. The movie went by pretty fast and everything is revealed at like a pretty quick pace. You don't feel like you're in the dark for way too long. You don't feel like it's just meandering. I did enjoy probably the second half of the film a little bit more than the first half. It does take quite a bit of its time kind of getting set up, and there's so many characters, a lot of them felt undercooked. However, characters like Tina Fey and Michelle Yeoh definitely stand out here. They get a good amount of screen time, and you really are able to feel, you're able to see everyone's character and motivations just very quickly. Everyone gets at least one moment to shine, often in like the interrogation scenes, when he's just taking his notes and they're like, where were you when Colonel Mustard was murdered in the dining room with the candlestick? Stuff like that. Just classic murder mystery stuff. I liked it. It worked for me. It may be like so cliche by the book how they do it, but it worked for me. And the seance scene actually was very well done. I liked that. It was unnerving. It wasn't horrifying to say the least, but it was unnerving. It got a little bit under my skin. I was like, that's creepy. That's new. They use, instead of using like a crystal ball or something like that, like a Ouija board, they use a new object, which I thought worked out really well. Getting into the mix, a lot of the dialogue and important things that are relayed here are relayed in just such quick fashion, and this is the American in me, very thick accents. And I get it, I'm American, I'm scum, I'm a Yank, but they just go by so quick. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, dude, you got to slow down. This French accent is just going right over my head. I don't know if that's just a me thing, which is why I'm putting it in the mix. It's not actually going to affect my score. Just like hey, there's a lot of people that aren't from America in this movie. Of course, I'm joking. This movie just delivers a lot of information very quickly, and often delivered in small conversations between characters. My theater doesn't have the best sound system, so I definitely just could have messed up on some information, gotten it wrong. The sound mixing, again, wasn't the best because some dialogue was just very, very quiet. And then the jump scares were so loud. It's just a recurring issue I have with movies nowadays, just how loud jump scares are. Continuing in the mix, there's elements of the horror genre in this movie that worked. There are small things in here that I think worked well. There's little things here and there that Hercule sees that affects his character because he's a man of science, he's a man of method, but he's seeing things that he can't explain, and that causes him to doubt himself and causes him to, consider other things. But then there's other moments in the movie where it's just like a cheap jump scare, a quick light bulb flash, something breaks, something yells, just to get you, keep you awake, keep you interested. And that, I didn't like that. That didn't work for me. So some elements of the horror aspect worked, some elements didn't. Wow. And just finishing off with the negatives, my biggest negative for this movie, I was really excited for the horror aspect, and it totally just falls flat on its face. Pretty much everything related to the horror element, except for like a couple things, just really doesn't work for me here. Feels very cheesy, especially in the end. Extremely just overblown, doesn't fit in the movie, and it's just like, well, is it? Is it not? Is it? Is it not? And there's a lot of things, like I mentioned before, the jump scares especially, that just don't work. Kenneth Branagh, he's a great filmmaker, but I don't think he's really cut for horror. The horror scenes, the scares, I guess, just aren't set up all that well. And most of the time, if not 100% of the time, the payoff is just a quick, ah. And it doesn't work for me. There's not a lot of pure tension here, not a lot of believable character actions when it comes to that horror, and kind of getting into that when everything is revealed, if it's horror, if it's not, how the story kind of wraps up, how the story justifies all those elements, again, if they're real or if they're not real. That's dumb. Although I did enjoy the second half a little bit more, that was mostly just due to the pace, the character reveals, the plot reveals, but a lot of the plot conveniences and how everything tied up really just didn't work for me. So overall, I'm going to give A Haunting in Venice a solid like 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it, but I'm not crazy about it. I really am not ever going to rewatch this. Better than Death on the Nile for sure, but not as good as A Murder on the Orient Express. So guys, if you're looking for a good horror movie, there's not really one in theaters right now. Hopefully, we will get some later on down the line. But as of right now, I wouldn't recommend either The Nun 2 or A Haunting in Venice. If you want to check out my review of The Nun 2, feel free to. It's on my channel right now. Have you seen A Murder? No, wow. Have you seen A Haunting in Venice? My bad. If you have, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, guys, my name's Carter. I love talking about movies with you guys. If you have any questions, comments, want me to watch anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments. As always, I'm Carter. I said that, and have a great rest of your day.